Welcome back to Insight, everyone. So we are here today talking about the people who would actually choose pets over their mates. I know you guys know a lot about, you probably know a lot of people who love pets, who cry if like a fish dies or if their dog dies. What do you think about that? I just think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that you would choose an animal over your loved one. If you actually really do love them. If you don't love them, that's a different story, right?
I think that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe, because there was a poll that came out, the Associated Press, that said 84% of people would choose, Americans, right?
Yeah.
This is for Americans. 84% of Americans would choose their spouse over their pet, but 14% said that they would choose their pet over their spouse. So there must be issues in those relationships.
I think that's a symptom of a larger problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't see somebody, like you said, like your real loved one choosing your pet over your loved one.
I read a little bit about the poll, and it was talking about like if you have to move because they're kicking you out because you have a pet or whatever, would you choose to move with your pet even if your partner wasn't willing to move out with you? Or like if all of a sudden you develop allergies for the pet, and you're saying to your spouse, listen, either the pet goes or I go. And actually 14% of people say, bye-bye.
That is the most ridiculous
That's just,
thing.
It's kind of
But
interesting.
you know what? A lot of people have that soft spot for animals.
Yeah.
I know me. I've only had fish, right?
Aww.
One betta fish in the tank. And I've killed a couple of them, at least 5, and I feel so bad every time. Every time I kill them,
perish.
Every time, exactly,
Tell me
they
you don't
die.
flush it,
But I know
though.
it's because of my fault. Because when I look up like the symptoms, I it's swimming sideways. It's because of something I done, like the diet wasn't properly,
or the water wasn't balanced or whatever.
Exactly.
Right?
So even when my fish dies, I feel a little sad.
I know.
For an hour or two.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people have a soft spot. So I can't even imagine like a dog.
I
Like
know.
if I had a puppy that lived with me for 10 years or even 5 years, how I would feel about that.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, growing up, I've had a grand total of almost 30 cats.
That she's killed.
And no, we've had 30 cats. We had 10 chickens at one point, and I think I've had close to 20 dogs. And then we've had rabbits, and I think we had a chinchilla at one point. And so anyway, I'm a really big animal lover.
Really?
And when a pet dies, a part of me dies.
Yeah.
It really becomes like a sibling, or I'm not. If somebody said choose your husband or your 30 dogs, I would be like, I'm sorry, dogs. I'm not gonna.
And if you choose the dogs, your husband might be happy if you have 30 of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't all at once.
I know. I think it is a symptom of obviously there's lack of bonding or whatever. There's issues there before the actual decision came into play.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys read about this, but us Americans, we spend over $41 billion on pets and pet supplies.
My goodness.
And
That's yearly?
That's yearly.
Wow.
Yeah, that is out of control. Talk about the deficit. What if we
Exactly.
pitched in a little bit to the U.S. deficit?
Some more important causes, right?
Exactly.
As if there's nothing else going on in the world. But you know what? I'm really not too surprised at those statistics, at that number, 41 billion, because you walk around the mall, right?
Yes.
And you see these little puppies wearing a little chinchilla coat. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? That was her chinchilla.
Coat on a puppy, right?
At least it died of natural
Exactly.
causes.
And then we have hotels instead of kennels, right? You no
Oh, we
longer
do,
leave,
yeah.
if you leave your dog at a kennel now,
Yeah.
you're abusing your dog.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
And then we have, I actually read that people are putting braces on their dogs.
No way.
Yes.
My dog needs braces.
Yes.
Are you, Sandy,
Yes.
if you get braces,
I won't.
if she puts braces on her dog, I promise, she would have lost 31 pets.
Okay, but I have the one that's going to beat
does
all
need
of
braces.
them, okay? This guy actually came up with a testicular implant, which means that
I've seen this.
if you're a
you
dog
kidding?
owner and you had, or a cat, and you had them neutered. You can actually implant new thingies into them and pay $1,000 for that implant. And of course, the inventors say, it helps the dog's self-esteem, the animal's self-esteem.
Oh my God.
Feeding on, people's love for the animals, but I think that's a little much.
On the
Little
animal
extreme.
self-esteem,
Extreme.
you girls, you're
I know.
reading this, right? And you're
Yes.
I mean, I hope you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking right now.
Come on now.
Like this is,
Sign me
it sounds
up.
like bull. You know what? No.
Yes.
mean, that's just ridiculous.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can understand and cope with the people who are against, animal fighting. Michael Vick got, we all know the Michael Vick story, right? For making the pit bulls fight or whatever, or the dogs, whatever kind of dogs they were. A lot of people were against him for that, and I can understand that. I mean, we're not going to go back into that whole issue. Should he have gotten that long of a term in prison? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, they were animals. They were not people. You know what I'm saying?
I completely disagree with that.
But I can see.
Yeah,
no, tell me. But I mean, I can see the other side where you can cope with the animal and say, oh, he shouldn't have done that.
Right.
But
I think what I think is that if you have the character or lack of character to actually watch this happen to another human or another live animal, whether it's a cat or a dog, it doesn't really matter. To me, it says a lot more about you and how you lack empathy, and that might extend to other aspects of life. Lacking empathy for something like that.
It could. But do you agree with? I think it was 2 years that he served for that. Do you agree with that?
You know what? Yes, I do agree with that.
I do too.
I completely.
I do
do you
too.
really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
There are studies that show most serial killers, the famous serial killers in history, Son of Sam and the others, actually tortured animals growing up.
Right.
Not just like,
So now,
not like pulling legs off of the animal.
Okay, you know what? I think that's a whole different level than saying, oh, put these two dogs to fight. You know what? Because now I feel like a murderer because my boyfriend and I were going to get another betta fish. They can't be in the same tank or they'll fight. We were going to make our fish fight. So, I mean, where do you stop? What is the, you know what I'm saying?
A dog can recognize you and the dog bonds with you and, they are man's best friend. A fish doesn't have the ability to bond with the owner. They're just existing.
But it's still an animal.
There's something, but it's a different hierarchy of functioning. You can argue that, yeah, it's okay to have fish fight, whatever. There are actually fighter fish, but a dog is not really born to kill another dog. I think that's a human, character that's coming through the dogs, and it's really harmful. And I think it's not necessarily about the dogs. It's about somebody that will allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, have you seen the TV shows on Animal Planet? And I forgive me, I don't know the name of them, where they have like the animal rescuers come in.
Yes.
And they save the animals that have all been abused.
Yes.
Right.
I can't watch the show without crying.
You guys are killing me, okay? Good. Sorry. Mike Vick should have not gotten 2 years for that. They were dogs. But anyway, when we come back, we're going to be talking more about animals right after this.